So let's get into the meats and potatoes of our conversation today. And one of the questions that I do want to ask is what are some unique challenges that small business owners face during the summer months? Summer equates to really hot. I grew up in Arizona. I can right out the gate say that the heat creates some very interesting scenarios. But let's hear from you, who've worked in this field for many years as a career. Trevor, what are some unique challenges that business owners need to consider during this time?
Well, first off, I mean, like you said, it's really hot. So you have to be able to maintain a comfortable environment. So you want an environment that's comfortable and inviting for your customers, for your staff. You want people to want to stay in your business. Contact time, is important, right? Especially if you're in a retail segment. And the other thing to think about is, your staff is going to be dressed one way, but your customers are probably dressed for the 100-degree temperatures outside. So making sure that you can find that area where they're both comfortable and ready in your environment. And then the other challenges are the operation of your equipment. It's got to be ready. And I know we'll talk about that in the future, but now making sure that your equipment's operating correctly and that you have an idea of what to do if something goes wrong, thinking about that in advance.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
and the other thing is, just making sure your habits are good for your staff. Trying to minimize the amount of heat that's coming into your building as you're trying to conduct your operations, because you're going to have a lot of traffic through your doors, but there's ways to minimize the heat that comes in as you're doing that.
Those are some excellent considerations. And yes, Trevor's going to be sharing with us a whole bunch more really cool technical tips. But Renee, to build off of that, he was mentioning and talking about comfort, habits. I'd love to hear from you. What are some of those challenges that we should consider?
Well, I think be prepared. You have your schedules. You know best when your employees are at their peak, when your customers tend to be at their peak. So consider those times of day when you're thinking about how to operate your facility and adjust things around that comfort. And Trevor mentioned something else interesting. People go in and out a lot, but we also have downtime in a lot of businesses. So you may have closed doors for a while, and then the business gets up and running for the business day. Not all places are 24-hour business locations. And so when you think about the way that you use energy and the schedule that you have using energy, one of the things that you also need to think about is, in addition to whether your equipment is ship shape and ready for the summer. Also, think about how your building actually operates in extreme heat. This is where we get into a really interesting concept of a thermal envelope. And I know that we in the utility industry can throw around a lot of technical sounding terms, and thermal envelope is kind of an unusual one. But how well does your building hang on to the cooled air that you have just pumped into it throughout the workday and throughout the customer service day that you have? How well does your stove retain heat? If you're cooking on that stove and you need to turn it off for a while and turn it back on later, how long does it take your stove to reach optimal temperature, and how much energy are you using? So different things have different thermal properties, and thinking about that and understanding how those things work lets you know or plan for how much air conditioning you need to run, how long you actually need to leave your stoves on throughout the day, or can you actually get away with turning them off outside of your peak times, and so on and so forth. I mean, there are lots of things that feed into your planning in your business that can have a big impact on your bill and the energy that you use, and therefore ultimately your own sustainability goals if you have declared any. And so I think that giving yourself adequate planning time before the warm summers in Arizona, the hot summers in Arizona, or the cold winters in other parts of our territory and Flagstaff and other montane areas, that is super important. So give yourself that time to think about it. If you don't have a facilities manager, and if you need to think about new technologies to invest in, tune-ups to do for your equipment, give yourself that time to do before that extreme season hits, whether it's summer or winter. And, if you have any questions, you can follow up with us and look at aps.com for resources, or we can get you resources and are happy to do so in planning those things. And Trevor,
I love it.
Trevor, you have some really great programs as well.
Yeah.
For the long haul, for helping to understand a building's properties, how to plan for energy usage into the future. And so I think you have exciting stuff to share with our small business customers that are really specific in that space, don't you?
Yeah, we have a great resource available on aps.com, both for technology guides to help them understand the technologies. As far as, like you said, understanding your building, we have the ability to request energy assessments. So we have a team that would be willing to either virtually or in person come and help you walk through your building to give you some suggestions on how to be more sustainable, improve your energy use. And then we also offer rebates when you decide to make improvements on items such as lighting, HVAC, to make sure that you're choosing the most efficient and best equipment that you can get, and help you offset the cost of that higher efficiency equipment. Because over the lifetime, the first cost is, usually a very small compared to the actual operating costs for your building. So when you think about, building your building it tight, and as you talked about thermal envelope, insulation is one of the most cost-effective things you can do to make sure that your business can actually be controlled and maintain a good environment. So yeah, we're here to help. We have a team that's ready to answer any questions that you have, and can easily be located at aps.com under savings for business.
Every quarter, we share with you tips on different topics that are very important for Arizona sustainability, and they help grow your business sustainably. So check out our expert webinar sessions. They are packed with so much information to help you go green. So make sure you register and watch our webinars today.